Declan, and I says, what? She says, it's Disney. And I think I said, shut the... I said, are you serious? And you could just hear...
Just to say that is
what
crazy.
What sounded like Derry, like running around.
We're here.
I know.
Who'd have thought?
Not us.
Not me.
Crazy.
What do you got to say for yourself?
We'll see as the chat goes on, I suppose. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy to kind of get to hear with everything that's happened in the past 2 years. It's nuts. But so much has happened up to 2023. That's kind of the result of why we're here today.
I know. This is my therapy session. Yeah. It is. I'm going to lay it all on you.
We've been calling each other for the past, like 2 months, basically just chatting to each other on the phone because we can't chat to anyone else.
Me and ChatGPT have got very close. Because it's the only person besides you that I can what do I do with this moment? Like, how big a deal is this?
But where does this all start for us though? Because obviously we're first cousins and we go way back. Me and used to run around the farmyard recording little skits when we were younger and that was our life, wasn't it?
Yeah. From running around with mobile phones, recreating Back to the Future, and I'd be like, come on out to the yard, like I want to do this scene.
On the Sony Ericsson.
On the Sony, yeah. And then we'd be in the tractor traveling back in time and then, we're going to bounce to the sweet shop and like, we'll pick this up. Don't worry about the continuity, we'll pick it up later, pick it up tomorrow. And that's where like moments like that all start.
Yeah, and we continued to do that, didn't we, up until around GCSE, and then you kind of took off with YouTube and stuff.
Well, that was what, like, I'd initially started with the little bits and pieces with you, and then like going on family holidays and just running off with the camcorder. Don't worry about it, because back then it was literally tape, and you were just like, there was nothing left by the time we came back. We'd be recreating Dumb and Dumber and...
What about that scene in the caravan in Nice in France where it's just, well, we're recreating a scene from Dumb and Dumber and you just have a shot of me going, cut.
Cut, this is all shit, because you don't know where there is. Cut, Pat's got it all wrong.
That's the one we're going to release someday, and I think once you've...
That's where it all started, and that was 2008, so...
Earlier it was like 07 or something like that there, but it was just like, I don't know, but it's just like we had the same, sort of taste in films and sense of humour. And from then as you said, like something like that took me on to sketches on YouTube. And then I kind of had kissed goodbye to that, and you'd gone off and studied film.
Yeah, we kind of parted ways for a while because of life, university, moving countries and stuff like that.
You went to London and properly studied, like you were living my dream and studying film. Like
at that time, I thought I was living the dream, but it's the same as everyone else, where you're struggling to pay rent and you're struggling to feed yourself. I think I remember like buying like tons of tins of like chicken soup and buying tons of tins of chickpeas, and that was like my dinner every night because it was just so tough to live in London. But inevitably, like it brought me back home, and that kind of brought us both together, didn't it? Like where lockdown is kind of where we reconnected.
Lockdown, really.
Yeah.
So at that stage, you came back from London, having studied film. I'd gone off to uni and studied housing. And then at one stage, I was like, I'd love to get back into this somehow. I've no idea how to do it. And then inevitably coming to you with what I thought was a feature film, which was just like, it was like a P7 poem, just like perfectly down the middle. And I was like, I think I've got a feature film. And you were like, no, you don't. So that being, somewhat a collaboration where I came to you and I said, I have no idea what to do with this. Or I just remember you telling me, listing the people that I'd need crew-wise and being like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It took this many people to make a film.
You were like, what is a focus puller? Why do we need a sound guy?
That's everything. You were like it's going to be a short film and this is how you do it. And at that stage, you'd already done a couple of shorts.
But that was fantastic though, because that was right whenever things were starting to pick up a little bit when lockdown hit. And what was that, around July, wasn't it? And so it was great to have something for me to come in and be creatively involved with, because everybody had taken a slump in lockdown. There was nothing really happening. People had gotten into their caves, taken up new hobbies, and for you to come in right off the bat, like, we're doing this short. I know. We picked up right where we left off.
I know, but I was so new to it that I probably had like so much energy at the time because I was excited. I didn't understand the mountain that was ahead of me, for like a 20-minute debut short film.
Yeah.
I suppose something like that was, looking back, I realised how naive I was.
But that's part of it, isn't it? You know, that's part of the learning, is getting stuck into the deep end without knowing the sort of depths that you're diving into.
So,
And
well,
that's where all the learning is.
Yeah, sink or swim.
Yeah, you sink or swim, but you definitely swam.
yeah, backstroking.
Yeah, but then that led you on to moving on to different shorts. You kind of moved on, and you had the bug had kind of caught you at that point, and you went on to move to do a couple different shorts at that point.
Yeah, well,
didn't you?
I'd seen kind of like, you know, I'd kind of known how to approach the next two and to make them smaller.
Yes.
Less locations, you know, and things like that there, and who to potentially collaborate with, and it made it a bit easier having had work. And initially, sure, I only set out to make a short to create showreel content for myself to get an agent. That's where that came from. I didn't want to write, didn't really want to direct.
It's trying to make it happen for yourself, isn't it?
That was it. I was
really
trying to create the opportunity because I couldn't get gigs because I didn't have experience. And then it was using that first thing to do the second thing to do the third thing, and then on from there. You know, same for you. Like, you'd done 5 shorts up to that stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'd done a bunch, and it was stuff really I'd done in uni, and then, you know, Rye, who is our DP, we brought on for Dear Imelda, and who's shooting this right now. Shout out, Rye. He really came on, and we started doing a bunch of stuff that was really creative, one location, you know, no dialogue type of stuff, and that was really, really cool, and I love that type of work. But that kind of was pre-lockdown as well, so like that kind of pushed me on to try and think about doing new work, which is why Shine was great, because then I got stuck back into creative work, and then you went off and did 2 shorts, and then I went off and did another short, which was True Colours, which was some funding behind it, which was great. But then that was sort of the pinnacle of us doing stuff, you know, aside from working with each other, and then we moved back to the drawing board. We're like, we need to do something together.
Do you think it was inevitable that was going to happen off the back of Shine? Because like we could have said, okay, this first somewhat collaboration went, you know, somewhat well, and Shine I was able to take, you know, across the world and then put it on YouTube, and like it found a home.
Yeah.
But
and it's now sitting on like sub 70k views,
something like that. But which is mad, because at one stage I was just going to drop it on YouTube because I didn't know film festivals were a thing. But do you think, like, we didn't initially just collaborate straight away off the back of Shine? Do you think it was inevitable that at some stage we were going to do it, or because you went off and did your thing and I went off and did mine?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. You caught the bug, and I think you were hungry, so you had 2 projects that you were ready to do back to back, and then I kind of had this other thing that had some funding behind it, and that was very low budget, done by itself, and I think we kind of did those around the same time, which meant that we kind of had to part ways.
Well, you already had plans, and like, you know, obviously I just didn't match for the casting and things like that. And
yes, yeah, because that story was a particular sort of elephant and mouse sort of.
And I think they maybe crossed over at more or less the same pre-production stages. And
they definitely did.
I was doing at one stage, I shot 2 shorts in 8 weeks, which was just looking back. It's like, what was I thinking? Like,
yeah, but again, that's sort of diving in the deep end. You just learn so much by doing.
Yeah,
and that's one of the big things that people don't realize, is you need to constantly be making in order to finesse your work.
Yeah.
So while you were doing that, I was doing another short, which is, I can't remember what sort of number of short that was in my sort of like, you know, filmography, but I was really kind of happy with that film. That was going out to festivals, and then at that time, me and you had started to travel to some festivals locally, and that took us down to Cork at Fastnet, where kind of everything kind of started to pick up from there, wasn't it? That was really the collaboration point again.
Well, we just went to the festival to go to the festival, and didn't intend on really anything coming of that. And then it was that trip that really inspired me. Whenever we were sat hungover one day with looking at you like devouring 2 egg muffins, and I'm thinking,
one is not enough.
I'm thinking, like, this could be a concept, and it literally just this idea. And that's the thing with us being family, people automatically assume that this is like a true story based on our nanny, which is a lovely concept, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. Initially, this was something that came to me, and I thought, oh, this is something we'll do for no money, because funding is so difficult to acquire here in the north, that inevitably this was going to have to be something we funded ourselves. 1 location, 2 casts that we could do for essentially nothing. And that's where that concept was born, in Cork. And then I remember listening to so much music. We were listening to Irish trad music all the way down the road from Mullingar. And then coming back up, and I just remember being so inspired literally through the music to write this thing, and I could just see it. I could see the location.
Music is everything. Music is the heartbeat of any film.
That was it. I listened to the same track on repeat, and just wrote this thing, and I batted it out in what felt like a couple of weeks. And from there, then we were just set on making this thing together for nothing.
And then that kind of set in motion a chain of events that would get a lot of collaborators involved that we were so inspired just to even meet with, let alone have work on the film with us. Obviously, we had Rose Henderson, star in Dear Imelda, and that's an interesting story how you got her involved, isn't it?
Well, see, again, chatting about film festivals is like, because you can attend these things if you want, and a lot of the time it's at your own expense. But this was a film festival on the west coast of Ireland, on Achill Island, in the middle of nowhere. And on the off chance, you never know who you're going to bump into. And then all of a sudden, I'm running out the door to leave because it's 6 hours up the road. And this lady stops me and says, really enjoyed that film. If you're ever doing something, would love to collaborate with you. And then fast forward, a year and a half later, and I've wrote this piece, which has a role which could suit her. And you're thinking, was she serious? And then obviously we hit her up and then headed down to Dublin. And she must have knew we were after something. You're like, oh, will you come for a little drink? And she's like, okay. And then I pull this script out of my backpack and say, look, I'd love you to consider this. And then, but that's the thing, it's like, the worst someone can say is no. And it's the same thing, obviously, with having wrapped the film and when you're reaching out to people for locations like that, how important it is just to try your luck with this type of thing.
If you don't ask, you don't get. That's really the sort of motto you have to take with indie film, isn't it? Like, and sometimes it's better asking for forgiveness than it is for permission.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a lot of
the approach we've taken for everything.
Yeah. But that was huge, because I remember we were casting this thing, we had some people in mind, but then you suddenly dropped her headshot to me and we're like, this is who it is. There's no one else we're considering. It's her or nobody. And then it was like, we need to kind of get down to meet her. And then it all just kind of fell into place, didn't it? Like, she wanted to get on board straight away. As soon as she read the script, I think we left. And by the time we got home, or maybe the next morning,
the next day or two, she came back and just said, yeah, she do. And that's the thing, when you deal with someone that you almost think they're so, experienced that they're never going to work with, someone who's, an unfunded project, because it was just our own money at this. And that's one stage we were, there wasn't any.
And someone so experienced too, like her, we were wondering, how is she going to, react to a couple of guys,
At that stage we were 30.
Just these guys coming down, just trying to make a film, we weren't sure how it was going to go down, but alas, it came together with her. But then our biggest collaborator has been a wonderful sort of collaboration with Tara Howley, who composed this entire film. And this is a sort of pinch me moment. We've had every single time we've had a milestone with her, and that was
But that's the thing where that came out of nowhere. But whenever we'd filmed this, we thought at one stage there was going to be no music or no need for music unless it was at one stage at all, because we didn't have a voiceover. That was something we made ourselves in the edit.
And it was very particular in the film that the music was to stand out for purpose in the middle. There's a scene where she's listening to some music for the first time on these very fancy headphones, and that was meant to stand out for that reason. So there was no music to enhance that moment. But when we got into the edit, everything changes, and then we realized
that was the thing. We realized we needed music, and it was like, I think I ran it past you, and I said, "What do you think about maybe getting a composer into this?" And you said, "Where are we going to get a composer? We've no cash for this stuff." And then I literally Googled it. Irish composers, bang.
Yeah.
Well, Tara Howley comes up, obviously number one.
And that was so crazy to hear, because I've been watching Tara on TikTok.
I remember you saying this, you were like, I know who this is, I've been listening to
her
this.
On the Ellen Pipes is just so inspiring. I think her rendition of the Irish National Anthem is just so bone-chilling. And that was something I was like, if we could meet with her, that would be phenomenal.
But I was thinking, sending the email and just hoping to get a meeting. And when she said yes, I said to you, she was in San Francisco with Riverdance. She'd been all over the world at this stage. And then she was home that weekend, and I said, we've got to go to Dublin. We've got to at least, if nothing comes of this, at least we've met her.
Yeah.
And just got on. I said, when it's people, we've been so lucky when we've met these new people, and it feels like we've known them for years.
And it just clicked, didn't it, whenever we met her? And she came to the Abbey Theatre and met us with a bunch of suitcases, but
she was having a night where she broke her phone and was DMing us from some security guard around the corner, and
no ticket to get on the bus back to Clare.
No,
and it was
no money and stuff like that.
We felt so sorry for her when me and you were just will you do the film then?
Yeah, so it's is this a yes? Is this a yes?
So maybe we forced her into it because she was just if it gets me home.
she'll sign her life away. But
and she has delivered so much unbelievable world-class music.
But again, where it's just like having the boldness to reach out, and again, it was like worst case scenario, it's a no, and you're like, okay, well that lead is, at least I can check it off and say we tried that, you know, and then we would have went back and tried to figure something else out, and that's what a lot of this is, you know, just, you know, go down this road, you go down that road.
And I remember as soon as we signed her, like, it was like, you know, I just wanted to then, I felt such pressure. Obviously you want to make the best film possible, but I felt pressure then to deliver for their sake, because they were big names, Rose and Tara coming on, and I wanted to make a film that actually superseded the expectations, so much so that they felt, well, I'm glad I said yes to these guys. And I think we can sit here and say today that that happened.
Well, yeah.
Which is fantastic to feel like. That's a great feeling, you know.
That was the thing where, you know, they're investing their time and their talent into it, and you just hope you can somehow pay it back some way.
Yeah.
We didn't think, come on, that it would go where it went. Even if we tried to, stuff you'd never achieve if you set out to put a film somewhere like this, that you're never thinking it will actually land.
You can only set out to make the best film possible, and if that's your only goal and you make every decision with that in mind, objectively and with collaboration, you will make your best film, and you can't decide where it'll go. It's just the zeitgeist, it's luck a lot of the time, but hopefully if you've made your best film, it will see the right audience, and that is kind of what happened to us, isn't it?
But we've always said, like, we love sitting down to watch this film. And that's whenever we were in the edit, that opening shot with the drone over the you know, the sea and the Mourne Mountains.
Yeah.
Whenever we'd watch this, you know, it's our favourite opening. Like,
which is such a happen chance to get that too. Like, we were going down to Recce to do that shot.
In the script, this is how, like, things change all the time. In the script, it was a completely different opening, and that idea came to me weeks and weeks into the edit, and I said to you, oh, I've got this vision, and you went, I see it already. You were like, I know what that shot is.
And we were
said,
both on the same wavelength, because when we were shooting the film, we kind of thought that the film would start just as the car comes
on
in
a
the driveway.
lane, or it was like.
But you had written a montage into it, but for time we had to.
Oh, it was like, we'll pick that up a different way.
But then that shot just came together on Recce.
And then when we dropped her music into this, it was just
glorious. It's just that pairing of visuals with music just kind of sings, and I think it is the heartbeat of our film. But
it's allowing at the time, like, we knew, because it brought the film over certain milestones in certain time, and it was things we had to justify, and looking at it, it's just like, I wouldn't cut a second off it.
Absolutely.
You know?
And then I guess then our biggest collaborator outside of those two is our DP Rai, who came on and helped channel the sort of visuals of this film. He was really kind of helping us with the schedule, because I'm not too sure if many people know, you know, there was no first AD. It was me and you up to 12 o'clock every night trying to figure it out.
What are we filming today? Or
what we had scheduled did not happen. And, you know, Rai very graciously came in one morning, it was a Saturday, and said, we have to shoot the last scene of the day right now because of the sun.
Yeah.
And shoot the weather. And I think if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had the film we've had today. So hats off to Rai Santosa.
Yeah. Couldn't have done it without him.
Absolutely. But then that's a great journey making the film. Then we get into the edit. We get it done so quick for the festivals. It's just us doing it.
Yeah.
I'm in the edit suite. We're channeling this thing through the post-production. And then we bring in Fergus from Yellow Moon. And then we had Ross McKinney do the colour.
Yep.
And it was just so great to get that done, because they had a tip-top for festivals with all of the necessary sort of details done.
That's it. And you'd the edit in such a great place.
Yeah.
We'd done all our own Foley, and then you delivered it, and like, they're like, this Foley is great. Like, there's very little to do. Like, we'd so much, like, me and you just dropping pieces of banana on plates.
It was me and you out in the middle of the night going around getting footsteps.
Like midnight walking on grass. My feet were soaked. I was just like, what am I doing here?
It's that level of detail, though. The devil's in the details. And that level of control over your production, I think, just helped. And editing the film meant that we could go back out anytime we needed and record stuff.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. And then that kind of pushed the film out to festivals. And last year, you know, we had a great start, didn't we, in the likes of...
Well, I said you're in 3 North American cities, from Chicago to New York to Toronto, and it all felt great, because that was in the space of like 6 weeks. And then I'm one of those biggest advocates for, like, if you've got the means to travel and attend these things, because the networking opportunities promotes the film. And I was able to see firsthand then how the film was perceived with an audience, and you hadn't seen that.
Foreign audience kind of not knowing anything about it, and somewhere like in North America where the Irish sort of scenery is so idolised, isn't it? And
but you've no idea how humour will translate until you're sat in an audience and you can hear a gasp or a laugh, or someone approaches you after with a tear and says, I found that so, emotional, because I'm able to resonate with this because of this reason or that reason. And that's the thing, when you create this work and you put it out into the world, it's going to be perceived and adapted.
Yeah, you can't judge how someone else is going to interpret it.
That's the thing.
But it makes it worth it when you have someone come up
absolutely
and be like, I was so emotional whenever...
It reminded me of this.
Yeah.
And
that's happened countless times with this film, and that's something that's really kind of made us feel like, God, we didn't realize that would hit home that hard.
Yeah.
And I guess that just comes back to like making the best film possible, and we're so proud of the reactions and the collaborators we've had, and but then that kind of transitioned into having a very slow year last year, didn't it?
That's the thing. Nothing comes without its challenges, and with that initial success came a ton of rejections. Like,
and what we're sitting at now, like 40 plus rejections.
I had to stop counting because it wasn't good for me. But that's the thing, when rejection after rejection, and it's the age old. You can spend any amount of money on film festival submissions, and you'll get the same old automated, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't take everything, and after a while, that started to beat us down a bit.
Oh, it was terrible, because we had such expectations. Like there's a photo of me and you in the last day of the edit, and we're just like, I took a selfie of us both, and we're smiling ear to ear because we knew how great the film is.
We loved it.
And to put it out in the world and for it not to pick up, a bit of wind, it is tough. It does beat you down, like no matter who you are. If the critics come out and say that, like you're going to feel the weight of that. And so we're like, where are we going wrong?
Absolutely, you start to question everything. But like
did I make a good film at all? Is that true?
That's the thing. Again, it would be me and you chatting, and up to the stage where we were sat on the high stools in a pub, like
in the Ergo,
just over a year ago, like in the local, and we'd sat on so many rejections, and I said, oh, this festival's coming up, it's the Academy qualifying foil film festival, it's one of the biggest festivals in the country, and you just said, man, we're never getting into that.
Yeah, I kind of written it off. I was like, listen, if we didn't get into the ones up to now, we ain't getting into that. Like, that's just not happening.
Yeah. And I just remember, feeling, I still optimistic, because it had to be optimistic that something was going to change. And then you called me that day and said, bang, like, we're in.
Yeah.
And from that moment, it just changed everything.
I remember you screaming down the phone, like, come on.
I knew when you called me, you went, guess what? I said, oh, just the relief.
Yeah.
That finally we'd caught. It felt like, you're on the sea, and you've caught like a bit of a wave then at one stage.
And it's really as well just to kind of get the film places where people can see it. That's the big thing. It's like we're trying to get this film to festivals, not just to kind of get the, the credit of being in a qualifying festival for the Academy or BAFTA or IFTA. It's to get it to a place where people can watch your work, because that's the most important thing. And to get into a festival of that stature was phenomenal for us, and we knew it was going to be great.
So how did you feel whenever we were sat in the audience and they called our name out? Like,
I mean, that was crazy.
Do you remember the weight of that? I remember the weight of that. Like, just like feeling so like...
I think the last time I was in a position like that was whenever I was playing for like the under-17s in my local football team, and it was when they were announcing the awards for the end of season, and I won like best sportsman of the year, which is like basically like thanks for participating sort of award. And that was a similar feeling where you're like, it could be anything. And we saw the awards and we didn't know if our name was etched onto them at all.
No, but that's the thing, where you've so much stuff, so much funded stuff. Yeah. We're an unfunded project that two dudes have done ourselves. Yeah. We produced it ourselves, and you're going up against the best of Screen Ireland.
Best of Screen Ireland. And at the end of our screening, we had like a panel, and I didn't expect that to happen at all. And all of the directors were basically funded by Screen Ireland, which is, a phenomenal development scheme down there.
These were €70,000 fired at this stuff. And like we don't even know
sub 10K at that point, like that's really where all in, both of us as we were going. And I think that's a really sort of proud moment for us to be standing up there with a bunch of great films with higher budgets, and we were like, we're here with basically tuppence.
Yeah.
And then obviously at the end of Foil, we hear from NITV that we've been accepted for international and global distribution. I mean, what do you think of that?
Pretty mental, because I was in Spain. I was at a one-shot film festival.
You're in Barcelona?
Above Barcelona. Where was it? I forget even. It was a wee tiny town above Barcelona, and I was driving with this. Like, they'd arranged for a driver to pick me up, and like he was Spanish, and I don't speak any Spanish.
Espanol?
And then I got this, no, it wasn't a call, it was an email. And I just remember seeing it and like calling you, and the guy was like, what is this guy so excited about at like 10 in the morning?
I was on set at that point. I think it was on Art Detectives, and I remember having to step out because I was like, what is he calling me for?
I think I said to you, like, how's your day going?
Yeah, and
you
I
were
was like, no, this is foil all over again.
I was like, out of 10, you were like 5. I go, so I'm going to make it 11.
Yeah.
Which was mental, because initially it was like, we just couldn't believe it, because off the bat they said they wanted to handle like international distribution, and you're thinking like,
that was the first time we were introduced to Sive then, because we only knew of Derry, and when you got chatting to Sive, it was elation. We were completely over the moon, and you called me, and it's like suddenly this flourishing sort of relationship happened where we went down and met them in Dublin at this little jazz bar.
That's the thing, they were saying, oh, we can just do a call or Zoom, and we were like, no,
we'll be down the road.
We're coming to Dublin. And
that's another thing like we really picked up was all this networking and traveling to festivals, is that you really value the in-person handshake. It's just so much more elite than a Zoom call or a phone call, because you can't get that. You can't get the vibes of people. You can really sense what people's intentions are in person.
That was it. But there was still an element of like, they'd somewhat like expressed an interest. Well, basically expressed an interest over email, but we still wanted to go down and make a good impression.
Yeah.
Because like, not only is the film like this product, but like we're a product along with it.
Yeah.
And it all depends on whether they want to, partner and collaborate with ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were going down and putting on our best, putting on our best impressions, and you're just hoping that it all goes well. And again, same way with Tara, same way with Rose and everyone else, it was just one of those things. As soon as you met these guys, we were with them for a couple of hours chatting about stuff. And
once people realised too that it was just me at you, especially up to that point, we were over a year after production.
Yeah.
It's like people couldn't believe it. It's just me and you did everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's also an impressive thing as well, as the fact that we opted for that choice, but it kept it all within house, and when people found out that we did everything ourselves, that sort of like element to it was something that they realised was a big part of the production, and that sort of run and gun indie vibe is kind of why we're even sitting here.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's one of the biggest compliments we get. Is like, who are the marketing team?
Yeah,
like who you collaborate with, and you're like, it's two guys, like it's us.
You're looking at them,
which is lovely. Like, it's lovely. Like, obviously, there's a lot of like we've learned so much with this.
Yeah.
From the pre-production to the post-production, and it's been invaluable to know, because like from just everything, how important marketing is, and
insanely important
press is from the off. Having
it's essentially producing after the fact, isn't it? Because you're trying to get the film out there.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
So it's knowing that we need to have a stills photographer here, because there's going to be laurels, there's going to be things that we need images for, and you can go and pull screen grabs of stuff. And it sounds so like self-indulgent and, borderline cocky to be like, we need a stills photographer here because we see all of this stuff happening. But, looking back, it's like, you're so fortunate and glad that we took those steps, because we've had to rely on everything. Otherwise, you wouldn't have anything to post about. You wouldn't have things to use.
We also had the wonderful Nathan McGee, who did our stills, who always delivers.
And that was a guy that I'd wanted to work with for years. I remember from the off, from the first film, messaging him, and like, because his stuff was everywhere. He's a lovely guy that both of us think the world of, and being able to work with him, was just a dream. And like,
I'm one of those guys too on set that just brought such a joy to everyone's day, and I think that's a big thing when you're working with people, is that you want to work with people who you get on with, and Nathan gets on with everyone, and he also delivered as well on the stills. So.
That's those things. One of those things Christian Tierney told us in Dublin. He's like, listen, it's like half of it is like being half decent at what you do, and the other part is just being a nice guy that people want to work with. And it's so vital in today's industry. Maybe 10 years ago for short films, stuff like that just wasn't thought of.
Yeah. It's also one of those things, I think, when people are in the short film stage of their career, they aren't really that experienced, so they don't understand the value of this stuff. And so the reason why we are here today is because we value that, and we understand that in order to get your work seen, you have to market it and package it well. And the work has to be great to begin with, but if you can package it in a great wrapper with a little ribbon and a little card that is signed off so perfectly, it really helps a lot, and it helps people want to watch the film. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what's we've really learned as we've gone on, even more so in the last 6-7 months, is that you have to go to town in this stuff.
That's the thing. It like, again, we're constantly saying like the opportunity is as big as we allow it to be.
Exactly.
And no one has asked us to do any of this stuff.
No.
Network Ireland Television did not tell us as soon as Samantha happened, or as soon as Aer Lingus happened, look, guys, we need you to start going back to the location, write another scene, bring the cast back, bring the crew back, and start creating promotional videos. That wasn't the case at all. It's us that are trying to, you know, capitalise on those moments, because at that stage we didn't think that maybe another opportunity was going to rise again, and we were like, oh, we'll go back to the location one last time and, you know, make a bit of a song and dance about this, to promote this, and to really enable people to know that, because the biggest question we get asked all the time is, where can we see this thing and when can we see it? So it was, well, we have to let them know that it's available, but like, plot twist, you have to hop on a transatlantic flight to go see it.
Catch it in the States, you know.
It's been so crazy just to get tagged in all these little photos from people, you know, sending us photos of us in the sky.
It's in the skies, in the air, across the Atlantic.
But
like,
that's the thing we forget
about
until like someone shows us an
We
image.
haven't even been in the air yet to see it yet, so we don't actually know for sure. We've just seen the photos.
It definitely is there. It's definitely there. But oh, that was a big one for us.
That was a huge moment in the film because of the story of and what pertains to Imelda's character and her long lost friend. And we thought the Aer Lingus sort of collaboration was a big thing for us, very meaningful. Because
of the travel aspect of stuff, and like in particular the Irish American immigration, you're like, who better to collaborate with than your national airline? So like, and we joked about this for months and months, saying, oh, we're in talks with Aer Lingus, we were in talks with nobody forever. It's the manifestation behind it. Yeah, you know, that's it. It's on the vision board, as Tara would say. Tara Howley's vision board, yes. You talk it into existence, and that's what we've, touch wood, been able to do with being able to do with a lot of stuff. But yeah, from the Samantha to the Aer Lingus, and look, we would have been happy with that, wouldn't we have, if Network Ireland Television had said, boys, listen, we've come to the end of the run here and we're only a year into that deal, and look, we think we've exhausted everything. We would have gone out knowing that, you know, at least it was on, you know, Aer Lingus for 6 months, and we would have took that. And then obviously the news came around that we were going to be collaborating and dropping on probably the biggest name in streaming services on the planet, arguably. But we always said that it felt like a place that I could live, because it felt so Disney-esque to us from the opening. It felt like a story that would suit it. But again, there's some things that are out of your control, and all you can do is throw it out into the universe and hope that something like that happens. And for Disney and Network Ireland Television to, you know, believe in the project enough to take it. Yeah. You know, it feels so strange to talk about, because we've, you know, and if we had have set out to put a film there, it probably wouldn't have happened, because you can't force these things. And again, going back to making the best short film you can, but at the end of the day, you can't make it for anyone else. You have to love it yourself. And that's what the thing is. We could sit down and watch this film now and still love it. And the biggest thing was like, look, if we love it, someone else is bound to. And like, you know, it's just, it's nuts from the 1st of January for this thing to be available, and for people to finally be able to be able to see it, you know, go online and watch it here and now on a name that everybody knows. That's the thing. Obviously, you've got other household streamers, but there's something about the Disney name that just matches so well with Dear Imelda. It's so nostalgic. It's so nostalgic because it's where it starts for everybody. As we've talked about before, like, that's where it all begins. You know, when you're a kid, it starts from you know, these animations, and to be like a small little part of that is just so crazy. And obviously then we went back to the house and did a whole new promo for this Disney release, which is our biggest sort of endeavor since the short film itself. And so we had to go all out. You know, it was one of those things where it's now or never. And we're so proud of the promo itself, just because it was a chance for us to go back to that world. That's it. You were able to write a scene, and we just kind of sunk so well into it, and it was so effortless because we knew that world and lived with it for 2 years, basically. And that's it, like, you know, creating another scene was like, I know these characters, and, you know, it just all happened. You knew exactly what that was going to be. And to sprinkle a little bit of Christmas on stuff already makes it magic. And it's asking Rye to come all the way back again, and
Shout
Rose
out to Rye again.
Rose to come all the way back again to the location, and art department to come back, and make this set again.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes later, you're straight back into it. Fast forwarded 2 years, and again, no one asked us to do this thing, and asking everyone like Rye and Rose and Catherine doing the art department to come back to the location again and to transform this, back in time to the location over 2 years later.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, but once we were there 5 minutes later, we've transformed the place back into.
And she did such a phenomenal job. Her and Laura as well. Catherine Trainer and Laura Graham were phenomenal on the set of Dear Imelda. They had everything ready and transformed the place for me and you to step in and be like, this is the vision. And they worked so hard, and if it wasn't for those people, like, honestly, we would not have had the film we had today. Like, such unbelievable work. And the devil is in the details, even down to the post stamps on the letter at the very end. Like, that type of stuff is so meticulous. You have to be covering, and I think we wouldn't have had the film without those guys. And it's all our collaborators. Like, everybody, this film is the sum of all the parts, and those people were so integral to the creation of the look of Dear Imelda. And again, like you said, when we came back to do that promo, it's just effortless because we knew what we were going to make.
There's so much things, like, again, as someone who was initially a novice, there was so much things I couldn't appreciate because I didn't know. And you can have an ignorance to certain things or certain departments until you see basically the work that these guys are doing behind the scenes. And you can say, oh, I can tackle this myself.
Yeah.
But until you're there and you have enough stuff to worry about, these guys are coming in prepped with photos, with frames.
Yeah. With meticulous attention to do that thing, which whenever you're doing it as the director or producer, actor and writer, you're stretching yourself too thin, and so you're not thinking of things intently the way they would be, and that's the reason, isn't it? And they bring things to the table that you just wouldn't.
But that's the thing, it's all a collaboration and everything changes, and it's being open to everybody's, when you're on set, being open to anybody's influence or comment or like, and that's the thing, I only want to work on sets where it's a safe enough place for someone to say, well, actually, like, what do you think of this? And then you're thinking, I never thought of that. Yeah. Otherwise,
you have to be open to realizing that maybe certain ideas weren't as good as the ones that somebody is suggesting. Do you know what I mean? And that's where you make the better film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it comes down to.
Everything can change, and it's being open to the change, and obviously anything we want to do next, we want to bring those people back. That's been the biggest thing. It's like, I don't want to do it again unless they're available.
Yeah.
So
touching on what I said earlier again, is like, we were always trying to make something worth
giving back,
worth a project that was worth being part of. And I think this is that sort of milestone where everyone's like, oh, that was a film that I worked on, and they'll be able to say that to people, and that's a great feeling. It's giving back in a way that we had no control over. So we're just so excited to be able to say that we're streaming on Disney Plus, which is still crazy to say.
Literally, and the promo that came with this from interviews, Ireland AM, UTV Life, news articles, press,
and that all ties into what you were saying earlier about, like, you have to do it all yourself. Nobody was asking for us to do all this promo. It was all us, and it's all through cause and effect. So as soon as all those articles were written, Ireland AM reached out to us, and we were like, straight on to there. UTV Life happened.
Yeah. It's just such a learning experience, and what we hope we can really build on, to go into something else. And
that's what people are always asking now, whenever you achieve something like this, what's next? And it's inevitable. You're trying to do the next big thing, which is either feature film or getting into TV in some way. But for us, the feature films are where we're living currently, and it's obviously a different beast, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's one of the things. You've written so many features, and now I'm in the middle of two of these. Yeah. And it's just so different. And again, we just know that whatever we want to do, we want to give it the same care and attention. And looking back, we can hand on heart say that we give every little detail 100%. No regrets. I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah. And again, it's all about who you collaborate with. And we've been so lucky. Would love to work with those people again.
And we've built up a repertoire of people who have been so loyal to us as well as this film has gained more and more traction.
Yeah.
So going on to the next bigger thing, we're so excited to be working on something, because whatever it is, these people now know that it'll be 200% effort on whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing for us, is trying to just work through the writing, because it's a different beast, it's a different form of storytelling. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize too, is that jumping from shorts to features, I think a lot of people treat it like a paint by numbers thing, where they maybe read a couple screenwriting books and think like, you got to just do it that way. But it's an art form that is learned over a lifetime, and I think that's why you have to be so meticulous. Why we're so meticulous now choosing that first project. And so
it feels like tackling it together.
Yeah.
That's hopefully anything's possible, and like, building on the relationships that we've already had, that we're in a great place to. But you're constantly learning, and nobody knows it all, and we've learned so much, and still want to learn so much, So, look, here's to whatever comes next.
We've kind of acted like our own little studio, and we've got a repertoire of projects that we're working on and hopefully bringing into the world very soon. But right now, everybody can catch Dear Imelda on Disney Plus.
1st of January.
1st of January.
Thanks for coming on the journey with me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a rocky road, but we've been on it every step of the way together. Every single edit, every single screening. It's just been me and you.
I know. I'll probably see you at Christmas.
See you at Christmas, yeah.